Hello. Hi, everyone. So today's talk, we are going to talk about Microsoft Dynamics Finance and Operations with Power Platform. My name is Faisal Farid, and I would highly encourage to use uh, Scottish Summit 2020 to 2021 as a hashtag on LinkedIn and Twitter. Today, we are going to talk about Microsoft Dynamics Finance and Operations with Power Platform, how we can integrate this one. But before we get into the actual talk, today, I would really like to thanks to sponsors, Script Runner, Global Driving Data Quality, Proximo, Red Spy, Aglisys, and Hitachi Solutions. So thank you so much for all the sponsors for Scottish Summits today. A little bit about myself today. My name is Faisal Farid. I'm a Microsoft Dynamics technical architect working as a DXC technology. Uh, in Melbourne, Australia. I'm a technology enthusiast. I have been learning Power Platform, and I'm an active blogger, speaker, and community Power Community ambassador. I'm also Microsoft Dynamics Community Spotlight being awarded early this year. If you want to follow me on my Twitter account, my LinkedIn, my blog, and my YouTube channels URLs are being provided here. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter. I have been actively working in ANZ region, which is Australia and New Zealand region for Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations, and uh, uh, for and Finance and Operations too. I'm also working as a Microsoft Dynamics tech, and Power Platform community leader for Pakistan. If you want to follow me on, you can follow me on my LinkedIn account using this barcode there. Is agenda is very straightforward. We are going to talk about the integration capabilities within Microsoft Dynamics Finance and Operations. It's a very broad topic. There are so many where we can integrate finance and operations with the rest of the apps within the Microsoft Dynamics ecosystem. But here in this talk, in next 40 35 minutes, we are going to talk about how we can add finance and operations with Power Platform. I'll show a little bit demos to you, and then we will talk about the data warehouse integration options. And last, we will touch base integration capabilities at a glance. So I'll provide you a summary, what can be used, what are the features available out of the box for finance and operations with Power Platform. So stay tuned with me throughout the whole session. Before we get into the actual talk today, I'll be using different acronyms here. So for Microsoft Dynamics Finance and Operations, I'll be using F&O, FinOps. For Dataverse, I will be using Common Data Services, CDS somehow. For Dynamics 365 for sales, I'll be using Customer Engagement, CE, Sales, CRM. So these are all different names which I have highlighted on this slide. For Data Integrator, I may be using DI, Dual Right, DW, bring your own data, bring your as your data. So these words will be used uh, in replacement of others. So what we are doing here, from finance and operations side, we are actually broadcasting the data to the different apps here. Finance and operations being the ERP from Microsoft side, it has it is the backbone of any organization where you can think of. You will have the data for the supply chain management, you have the data for the production system, production module, you will have data for your inventory, your retail, your e-commerce. You will have data everything from the finance and operations. Once you get data out of finance and operations, you have more options to broadcast this data. You can use Power Platform, you can use Logic Apps, you can use Power BI, you can use SQL, Azure SQL, so and so forth. There are so many options available. What we are going to touch base today is all about this particular option here, which is a Power Platform. So Regardless, there are so many other options available. We are not going to touch base on these ones, but we are going to touch only one point here and not completely. There are so many in-depth topics to touch to talk about how we can integrate data between finance and operations with Power Platform. So with this one, these are the integration patterns we got from finance and operations and Dataverse, and which I have highlighted as a Power Platform here. The reason I have used this Dataverse here because finance and operations holds data into SQL. If we have the cloud hosted environments, which is your development machines, that will be the pure SQL server. Whereas if you have your data, if you have your environment hosted on Microsoft Cloud, then Microsoft subscription, then it will be the Azure SQL. But regardless, it's a cloud-based or other Microsoft hosted one, it is the SQL database. Whereas if we go back to the Power Platform, where we have our Dataverse, the Dataverse is the underlayer where all the data got stored. Data coming from the customer engagements, sales, field services, project operations, everything is going data into your Dataverse. Excuse me. Now, what we got here, different integration option patterns here. What first is the dual write. Then we got virtual entities, and then we have the data integrators here. Apologies for my cough. It's pretty cold over here, and I'm also not feeling well, so that's why I'm just coughing during my talk. So apologies in advance for that one. So let's talk about the data integrator first. And what are the attributes we got over here? For the attributes, if we talk about the speed, the dual write is actually the near real time, and the virtual entities are they provide all the CRUD operations to you. Data integrator is not the near real time. It has to be scheduled, and it has to be a batch jobs. So if you run the process today, you have to run maybe for after a 30 minutes, or you want to run a process, it will run overnight. So it has to be a scheduled process. So data integrator is used for those processes which do not require a near real-time integration, where you have a data which can wait and it will run on a certain time. Then what the method it uses is asynchronous pattern. So asynchronous pattern is actually explains you have to wait. You send the request. You are not expecting a response at the same time. You send the request asynchronous, and then you will wait the process to complete. Once it's complete, it will send back you a request there. It's always a one directional there. Means you are sending data from finance and operations to Dataverse. I will keep referring Dataverse here, which is we could say Power Platform. We are sending data from finance and operations to Power Platform, or vice versa. Data is duplicated here. Whatever the data you have in finance and operations, for example, customers. A customer exists in finance and operation. The same customer does exist maybe as an account, maybe as a contact in your Power Platform, in your Dataverse. And on top of Dataverse, you can use any of the apps, these are the apps come with the customer engagements. It could be field services, it could be your sales and marketing, it could be any project operations too. Next point is the business logic is outside of data integrator. Whatever the business logic you have to write down. Most likely, this business logic will be written in finance and operations under data entities. Data integrator is very powerful when you have a big volume of data, huge volume of data. you have hundreds of thousands of records, then data integrator is your choice. You should be going with the data integrators. When that was the first option which Microsoft introduced a couple of few years ago, where we got the data integrator. Then last year in March, Microsoft got generally available dual write. It's a near real time comparison to data integrator. You do not have to wait. It's you created a customer in finance and operations, it will create an account in customer engagement. It's a it's a synchronous pattern, means you do not need to wait there. It's a bidirectional, which actually explains with its own name, dual write. It actually creates data in both directions. So it depends on to your configuration, your setups, how you have set up the dual write. It can be a one directional, but the process is it is a bidirectional, but it's your choice. If you want to sync data one directional, dual write can definitely be set up for one direction too. Again, data is duplicated. Whatever the data you have in finance and operations, it will be duplicated in customer engagements too. And so forth. The logic is actually it's a single transaction based, so it does not work really well for the huge volume of data because it is not designed for that purpose. So one of the uh, trick or tip which I want to highlight here, dual write is not your data migration tool. So do not use it for any data migration tool. Means if you have your more than 10,000 customers imported into your finance and operations, and you are keeping the dual write enabled, then it will take a lot of time and sometimes it will be a timeout issue in syncing your 10,000 more than 10,000 customers from your finance and operations to your customer engagement. So this is not a data migration tool. You have to, if you want to do this, go with the data integrator. Last option we got here is the virtual entities. Virtual entities initially got introduced back in 2017, but now Microsoft has evolved these virtual entities and make it and allow it to for have all the CRUD operations. You can perform all the CRUD operations. It does not define any methods here, any directions here, because the data does not get replicated. Virtual entities is actually the concept of a power platform. I would say it's a concept of the customer engagement itself. You have the data entities here. Now, what happens? Finance and operation is one of the data source for the customer engagement. It can be any data source. So which is very powerful. You can have multiple data sources from different systems, get data into one place, and then uh, you can combine data there, and then whatever you want to perform actions within of virtual entities, you can create different apps on it, combining different data sources. And what happens here with this virtual entities, finance and operations become as one of the data source for the virtual entities. So we will look uh, a little bit detail shortly. All right, so let's talk about the data integrators a little bit more in details first. If, as we can see here on the left hand side, we got Dataverse, which is I will say just for the reference purpose, we can say CDS here, but the new name is Dataverse. We have different apps on here, which is a part of Microsoft Dynamics 365, and it has a database here. The database is actually a Dataverse. So all the apps have the same database, and on the right hand side we got the similar pattern. finance and operations app here, and within finance and operations we have different modules here. We have retail here, we have a inventory management, we have a supply chain, we have a GL here, we have a organization hierarchies. So many modules within finance and operations. So with a data integrator, what happens here? Uh, we we got the data integrator in between finance and operations, and then in between finance and operations, we got uh, a data integrator. So in finance and operations and customer engagement, we got a data integrator. It's an admin center thing. Means it has to be done through an admin center for within finance and operations. So meanwhile, I'm just opening uh, my environment here so that I can show you how the data integrator works here. Okay, so unfortunately my laptop got restarted. So I'm just opening all the sessions again here. It won't take much time, I promise. All right. So while these environments are opening here, what I'll show you, I'll just take you to the next point first. So Dataverse Data Integrator overview, I'll just give you the first overview here. What does it mean here? We got the CDS, which is the Dataverse here. We got a customer engagement with two apps in it, field services and sales. These are the two apps. On to the right hand side, we have a finance and operations with its own database here. What would happen here with a data integrator? We got connected between two different apps here using the data integrator. So data integrator, as you can see, this is an admin center thing. With it, what does it mean here? If we go, if I now take back you to the Power Platform here, and now we are into the admin center here. This is my Power Platforms. Which will be taking time here as system was a little bit slow there. But while it's opening, I'll just see what we can talk further about that one. So what happens here to to configure your data integrator? What you have to do first? So first you have to go to the make.powerapps.com. You have to choose your correct environment there, which I am already here, environments, and this is my environment ID here. And on left hand side, you will see the connections here. So all you need to do is create a new connection. Once you choose your connection here, just search here Dynamics 365. So you will see this option here, finance and operations and Dynamics 365. So I have already chosen these two connections here. the, so before my session started, I just connected 45 or 44 minutes ago, these two connections. So this is the first point. You have to create a connection. Then you have to log into your admin center of this particular environment, which I have chosen here. And over here, under the data integrator, you have to create a new connection set here. So if we go with the connection set here, I would say Scottish Summit, and then whatever the connection we have chosen, we have created here, it will automatically start appearing here. So this is my connection, and then it will automatically choose whatever the environment I have. And this is my second part of the connection, and then I got this option here. So these are all manual points which I'm doing right now. And as you can see, this is actually retrieving the organization information from finance and operations and customer engagement environment. These both the application have a different database structure and also a different way of dealing with the organization hierarchies. In finance and operations, we have the legal entities. In customer engagement, we have the business units. So this is how these two different application map between two different concepts here. So this is once we will have this connection sets available, then we have to create a new project here. Once the project is available, you have to create a template and then define the data integration, the whole what would happen, what fields you will be defining. So all I will not be going in each and every step here. You can check all the Microsoft Docs and Learns article. It's very well explained, and also it is also explained on my blogs. So you can follow me on my blogs regarding all this explanation. So this is a quick overview here. You can see all the apps, all the legal entities. It will give you the legal entities here, and also it will give you this legal entity you want to use. So if we will hit a save here, and then you can create a new project here, and with the new project you can use either out of the box templates, or you can use uh, you can create a new template here. So with, due to the time limitations, I will quickly jump to the next part here. So that this is the admin center experience here. As you can see, you have to do all the steps yourself. You have to define your connection sets, connections, projects, everything. Whereas if you go back to the data management module of finance and operations, and now we talk about the dual right here. So the dual right actually contains two parts. One is your live sync, and one is your uh, schedule process. The schedule process, whenever you do the schedule process, it actually runs the data integrator behind the scene. So the dual right does use the data integrator when you do the schedule sync, which is called the initial sync. Uh, once this screen comes in, so this is how it looks like. You just need to follow a few steps which are very well explained on the Microsoft Docs article, how to set up the dual rights. But if you will have any questions about if you stuck somewhere, do reach out to me. I'll be try my best to help you out there. But if we talk about any of the integrations here, let's say if we say all products, and if you want to run this integration, you will see two options here. One is called initial sync, and one is called live sync. So there's if you see option here initial sync, and if you choose this one, you have to choose a one option at a time. Whatever you want to keep as a master here. If you want to keep finance and operations as a master, what would happen? Whatever the data from finance and operations will be copied from finance and operations to customer engagement there. And uh, if you do not do this one, you can unmark, you can keep it unmarked, and this will be your live sync. But in case you do the initial sync for the very first time after you uploaded all the data into finance and operations, and you want to copy finance and operations data from to customer engagement, you want to do the initial sync. If you run this initial sync, it will be considered as your uh, data integrator. So the initial thing is actually the concept of the data integrator with the wrapper of the dual right. So it uses everything behind the scene with the data integrator. It also creates a connection set, project, connections, but what happens with this dual right, you are not able to see all those connections and the projects. There is a reason to hide all those connections and the projects from you if you do the initial thing, because if you delete anything directly from your Power Platform admin center, it will create an inconsistency with the dual right within finance and operations. So Microsoft has actually kept it hidden due to these reasons there. So this is a quick overview about the dual right here. Now, if we go back to the customer engagement environment, so if you go to the customer engagement environment and where I have already chosen this as advanced settings there, and within the advanced settings of any environment over here, you can go to your administration module, and within administration module, you will see the virtual entities data sources. If you click on it, then you will see a finance and operations as an app here. So if you want to learn more about how you can what you can do here, you can follow my blog post here. It has a complete set of steps what you have to do in order to configure your virtual entities for Power Platform. So if you drill down all the steps, you have to install this particular solution here. You just copy and paste into your Power Platform, your URL here in browser, and it will ask you all the questions, which environment you want to choose, and where you want to install all the dual rights virtual entity solutions. Similarly, you can follow all the steps on for the dual right here. For the dual right, you also have to install all the prerequisite solutions. So there are few blocks which I have written over the years, and you can follow me on these blocks. If you're stuck somewhere, as I said, please do reach out to me. So with this one, as we were seeing here, uh, follow the step from my blog, and then once you reach to this stage, you can click onto your finance and operations here, and then within this step, you have to define the URL of your finance and operations. So this will be your URL here, and then if you go back to here, you just need to define here, and as part of the prerequisites, you must have created an Azure Active Directory ID over here, and then secret you have defined. Once you have this one, what I have done, so let's quickly review what would happen, and as part of the virtual entity solutions, what we are going to get over here. So while this is opening over here, now coming back to what are the business scenarios where you can use uh, virtual entities, where you can use data integrator, where you can use the dual right. Dual right, you can use it for your live sync if you want to have data if you want to keep data into both sides of the fence, finance and operations and customer engagement. Dual right is your choice. But if you do not want to replicate the data, you want to keep the data into the source, you can use the virtual entities. But with the virtual entities, there are some limitations. You cannot create an OData actions with the virtual entities. Similarly, with the data integrator, it's a one directional. But if you want to do a you want to copy the data at a certain time of the day, and it's a huge volume of data, go with the data integrator. At the end of the day, all the data with the financial operations coming within Power Platform. You are writing data into your Dataverse. Once you have the data into Dataverse, you can create Canvas app, model-driven app. You can create portals with finance and operations data. As part of this demonstration, what I have done here, I have used one of the data entities to create a Canvas app. So once you have configured the virtual entities, you will see this available finance and operation entities here. So it will take a little bit time over here. I'll just result on it, and then I'll just show you what Canvas app I have created here. It's a very simple app where I'm using the sales text, which is sitting into finance and operations, sales text groups, and I'm just showing all the data out of finance and operations here. And the the powerful thing of this one here is using the virtual entities, you can edit this data directly within finance and operations. So let's say if I want to make it text 10%, I will save it, and this data will go back to finance and operations, and it will update it in finance and operations. So this gets updated into finance and operations. Now switching back to my presentation here, what we have done here as part of the whole overview, we have installed a CE solutions for the data integrator. Then we have installed a few templates into data integrator. These templates are out of the box from Microsoft. We talked about the dual write. It's a near real time. It's a bi-directional. You can copy your data, master data, reference data, and business documents here. And having dual write, what happens? You have your finance and operations data natively available into your CDS or into your Dataverse environment. So that what's happening as a part of the step number 2 over here. Then we talked about the virtual entities here. So it's another step closer to the finance and operations data into Power Platform. You are getting all the data into your Power Platform, and then we had a live demo there. Then quickly, I would like to highlight a data warehousing integration options here. We got the data Azure Lake integration here. This is the thing which we talked about, data integrator dual right here. Now we want to integrate the finance customer engagement with the first app integration. And then a customer wants to have this data into his own Azure data lake. So with this one, it's a CDS connector out of the box available. And using this connector, we can have the customer engagement data into customer's data lake. But if the customer wants to have the finance and operations data into the customer's data lake, so this is the option what we are getting here, finance and operations entity store, and it will move from there to the data lake itself. And what the most powerful thing is, it will also bring your own database to your data lake, and you can integrate with any external applications here. Everything is sitting into your lake now. You can integrate multiple databases with the lake here. You can also store the files. You can read the files from this one, and you can use the machine learning options on top of your lake here. So that is the upcoming feature, not yet announced from Microsoft, but this is a picture taken from the Microsoft Docs article. If you want to read more about that one, please follow on this particular link from the Microsoft Docs article. I would like to highlight or summarize these options here. We got the finance and operations, different options, OData. We have the data management APIs. For the data warehouse, we got the bring your own database, entity stores. We talked about the Azure data lake. For Power Platform, which we talk about, these are different options. F&O connector is already is going to be expired or obsolete, but these 3 options will remain there. Azure integration, we have a different options as we talked about business event, logic app, Azure functions. That will be another pattern which we may discuss sometime later. So with this one, I would like to thank you to Scottish Summit. And if you still have any questions, please scan this barcode and you can reach out. You can connect to me, and I'm more than happy to answer all the questions. So thank you so much.